You're tuned in to Just One Hot Mom with host Nanika Ansari. Get ready. She's about to bring you that fire, that flavor, that heat, all that passion, and more from around the world and in your neighborhood. Stay tuned.
Hey, hot peeps, how's everything going out there? It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and if you just tuned in, this hot mom has gone live. I don't even know if y'all ready for it. So I'm excited to be here. It's our first day on the air, and this is actually how I talk in person. So let's get right into it. Recently, I don't know if you guys watch Blackish, but I do. It's one of my favorite shows. Shout out to Tracy Ellis Ross and Anthony Anderson and Yara. Oh, I can never get her name right, but that is one dope little girl. And so I was watching Blackish this week, and they were talking about the son got kicked out of school. If you didn't see the episode, I'm sorry, spoiler alert. He gets kicked out of his private school, and they have to investigate other alternative schools. And the only alternative method they think of is sending him to public school. So they go through this whole thing about the statistics of what happens to African Americans when they attend public school versus private school. And so I'm thinking in the back of my mind, like, my son is on his way to high school, and I'm like nervous and freaking out. So I've been searching alternative methods to think, like, I don't necessarily want him to go to public school. Don't get mad at me, public school. It's just my own personal feelings. And I'm not sure about private school because it's so expensive. Private school, you can get a little upset because I need for y'all to bring the prices down. But in doing that, I looked up Sara Williams. And Sara Williams is Dear Homeschool Mom. Can you tell us hi, Sara?
Yes, hello. I'm so happy to be here with you.
I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you.
Sara is a homeschooling mama. Now, she went from being a teacher in the classroom, correct?
Correct.
To homeschooling all of your kids, correct?
Yes.
And so I wanted to talk to you guys today and give you guys some information about how we as a community need to take back how our kids are receiving their education, because it really is up to us as the parents to determine how our children are going to be educated. And it's up to us as a community to share those. So, Sara, can you give us a little background on yourself, if you don't mind?
Sure. So, I actually started off by chance in teaching. I was a teenage mom, and I just really wanted to be a good mommy. And I decided that I would major in early childhood education at Tri-C. And so I also had a work-study position, so I ended up working in the daycare there. And when I was doing the work-study position, just fell in love with early childhood education. And so ended up working my way through college, working in a daycare setting. And next thing I know, because of everything that I learned and was able to earn through Tri-C, then I was able to transfer into John Carroll as a second semester junior.
Okay.
And so
Teen Moms Matter.
Teen
Hashtag
Moms Matter, yes. And so, just being able to work my way through and staying in the field of education, I ended up majoring in sociology and had a human service concentration. But then my father called me after I graduated with my undergrad degree, and he's like, you know what, I don't know what you're going to do with your sociology degree.
Parents worry about that. Like, I just spent all this money, and you're going to have to move back home.
So Daddy called, and Daddy said, yeah, you might either want to look at taking the LSAT, because I was thinking about being an attorney, or maybe you just want to be a teacher.
I'm so glad you didn't go to the dark side. I'm just kidding, lawyers. But I'm so glad you decided to become a teacher.
Yes.
And so in having previous conversations with you, like, I would have loved to have been in your classroom. It seemed like it would have been an exciting time to just be in the classroom, because you seem like a very energetic teacher.
And it's so funny because I started off in kindergarten. So I taught kindergarten for 10 years. Shout out to Bedford City School District.
Yay.
Woo woo. I love the Bearcats. And just loved it there. And so all my professional knowledge came from all the opportunities that they afforded me through Bedford City School District.
Okay, cool.
And so I taught sixth grade. I did a gender-based program there, so I'm able to talk about what it means to be an all-girls teacher and an all-boys teacher.
And that's awesome, because we discussed before, they learn differently. And so we don't, in our minds, we're like, no, we're taking away the girls' chances and stuff like that. But I was like, I went to an all-female high school. And so we talked about that. And there was a big difference. You know, I say, like, I was actually with my peers. There's a difference when you're teaching a boy and when you're teaching a girl. And so we need to make parents aware of that they all learn differently. Just like your children's ages, they learn differently. Right. They also, their genders learn differently.
Most definitely. I'm sorry, go ahead. Oh, no, you're absolutely correct. And so that's one of the things that you learn. And then in the classroom, I think one of the biggest things that helped me to be successful as a classroom teacher was just not the camaraderie that I had and was able to work so well with my colleagues, but just allowing the children to be who they were. So often we forget that, you know, when you meet children, you're meeting them where they are in the classroom. They come with all kinds of preconceived notions themselves, biases. They've been raised. So they're bringing different things to the table, as are you. And so when they come into the classroom, one of the biggest challenges that I think classroom teachers may have is just trying to be all things to all people. And it can be very challenging in the classroom setting. But by God's grace, I was able to do it. I was successful. My kids, they learned. They were amazing, you know. And so, but I understand too. And I think that's why I'm uniquely positioned, is that because I was a classroom teacher, I was the single mom, plus I was the married mom, plus I was, you know, the you know, so I can speak, like, I got them.
There are so many
like,
dynamics
when they would come in.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You don't realize that, like, being a single mom and having to take your kid to school versus being a married mom, it's very
different. Because that before care and after care saved me many a day versus, you know, the husband coming and everything. But, you know, I have to say that one of the biggest joys that I've had is watching the light bulb go off for children. You know, so, and then I think what's fun is because I grew professionally within that same school district, my kindergartners that I had when they were 4 and 5 and 6 years old, why then to see them and get them again in the 6th grade and to see how much they had grown and thrived. And, you know, if they were great in kindergarten, they were even greater in 6th grade. And I mean, I was just so proud of them, you know.
See, and that's got to be amazing, because I'm a person that when I see somebody get something, I'm like, ooh, I could tell right at the very moment that it clicked with you. So you're this wonderful, magnificent teacher in the Bedford School District, and then you go home. What happened?
Then I went home, and I had just received master teacher designation. I was rated accomplished under the Ohio Teacher Evaluation System, but my son was struggling. So what happened was, my son was our surprise baby. Surprise!
I've got one of those.
You got one of those? Yeah. And so they keep us on our toes. And so, but one of the things with him was that, I mean, I had 2 girls prior to, so I was used to having my daughters. And so when I had my son, of course, I knew they learned differently and everything. But even from an infant, he was not the one to want to stay at the daycare or child care center. He didn't like that. Even I tried an at-home provider. And I mean, he was shaking his head no before he could even say no. But it was obvious that, you know, he was not trying to be.
He needed a different type of learning environment.
He did. And that was how he was. And so we lived in a very good school district, but he was part of a peer model preschool program and ended up being expelled from preschool, if you can believe that.
Oh, it happens more often than people like to think about. Nobody's admitting that your kid got expelled from preschool because, one, it's like... Exactly. Like, you gonna bring that little demon here? Like, no. So, you know, I've known kids. Like, I almost had to have it with my oldest daughter. She almost got expelled. I'm like, please, please help me, please. But people don't realize, like, you know, it's a strain on the teacher to have to deal with an individual, especially at that age. You know, when they're still learning, progressing, and so. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's true. And so what ends up happening is you're trying to make sure that your child is comfortable and safe and well cared for. And of course, no one's going to do it like you do it, because we're all our child's first teacher, no matter what. And so he didn't have a filter, was what it was.
Oh, neither do I.
He did not have a filter.
I know his struggle.
Yes, and the teacher was not having it, because here he was a peer model. Well, how are you modeling anything and you can't keep it quiet? Right.
Poor
and
baby.
So it was a surprise to us. It was an absolute shock that he was being expelled from from preschool, no one told us this. My husband and I, we had gone to the open house. No one said a word. I get a call at work. And thank God for my building principal and my colleague across the hall. I was just speechless. I was in tears. I had to leave my job.
Because how do you do that?
How do you do that?
You're a preschooler.
Yes. So we ended up going to the board, and we fought. We fought for him. We were his advocate, and they ended up changing the handbook for that particular program and everything. Let's fast forward to kindergarten, first grade. He started just not beating to the same drum as the other children. So
how long was he in school before you guys decided to homeschool him?
He actually was at the end of first grade was when we actually pulled him.
Because I feel like those are the years where, you know, you just start to learn who they really are, and they're learning who they are, and they're learning what boundaries to cross, what boundaries not to cross. So it's kind of like, I'm glad you were able to catch it at a time when it's like, okay, I can still get you, we can still mold you.
Yeah, because he ended up being on a behavior contract, saying stuff like, you know, he's supposed to be napping, and he's drawing, or he's using scissors to cut.
So he's a creative.
He invents all day, every day. All day, every day.
And I think when you have a creative mind, you tend to like venture out. Like you rest when you want to rest, but when those thoughts are flowing, you have to let them go.
Right? Yes, and that's what we're finding with him. And
so you decide to homeschool.
We did, but he was he was biting his nails down to the quick. He was the skin.
So now he's anxious.
Now he's anxious, and so you know, he had the same teacher as our middle daughter. So therefore, they're comparing apples to oranges because again, two different kids. Two different genders, you know, what are you doing? And so they unfortunately for him had the same teachers, and they just weren't cutting him a break. So in talking to his pediatrician, psychologist, my colleagues, my building principals, like they all knew what was going on. Assistant superintendent, everyone supported me. They hated to see me go, but they knew that family was first.
So I want to say kudos to you, Mom, because it's a lot of times that we don't realize that family has to come first.
Yeah.
There is a sacrifice that has to be made because ultimately the sole responsibility of these children are left up to the parents.
Right.
As much as we want to rely on teachers, we want to rely on the school districts, we want to rely on everybody else, it really is up to us to make sure they are getting the education that they deserve and the education that they need. So you decide to homeschool. How was the first class? Like I'm imagining like I still be in my pajamas. I'm at home. We're not doing this professional. Right. Like I'm not gonna wear no uniform. I'm not getting up really. I'm gonna do what I want to do. How did he embrace that first experience?
So I set the clock for 6 a.m. because I was back in teacher mode. I had my whiteboard ready, my dry erase markers. I had every resource known to man. We were doing circle time. I had the schedule up on the board, and both of them looked at me cross-eyed and like, "What are you even thinking about? What?"
Your mom. Where's breakfast?
Exactly.
That's how I know for me. I would have been like, "Where's breakfast?
Yeah. And
can we go outside?"
Right, exactly. Yes. And it ended up being that it was quite the adjustment. I started finding that in that transition of pulling my children from school and pulling myself from school, I had to deprogram myself, deprogram them, because we were indoctrinated into public school setting, but in just brick and mortar, period. It doesn't matter if it's public, private, it's just a school that's outside of your home. And there's a certain way that things have to be done or else it would be chaotic, you know, within the school setting. So I ended up actually being with them, obviously, all day, every day. But I started to find myself like overcompensating and feeling confused and getting stressed. And in one of my creations, because part of this in homeschooling, and I wouldn't advise this for anybody else, my first year homeschooling, I created a homeschool co-op because I wanted for my kids to have what I couldn't find. Because another thing is because we're African American, we were the little black dot on the huge white sheet of paper. It's almost like black folks are in corners like homeschooling.
You couldn't find any.
I couldn't find near so.
And let me tell you, since you've come out of the woodwork, I've been contacted by so many other moms that are homeschooling that are African American. I'm like, where have you been this whole time?
And just that because you already find like you already feel like you're on an island anyway when you homeschool, because what will people think? And your kids are out with you middle of the day. The first people ask dumb questions, and we'll talk about that too. I'm sure you know, but
yes, I'm gonna bring it up.
But you know, it was like I found myself like overcompensating. I was hitting up every single resource imaginable, and thank God for a crew that came along and came beside me. Her name is Tiana, and she came, Tiana Hall. She came and Takesha, Summerlin, Charlotte,
Look,
Carmen,
you
all
know
of
it
them,
was
my
a struggle, 'cause
crew.
when you remember the whole crew, you like, I
remember my crew. Do you know that they held my hand through it all? And they were like, you got this. Like, don't worry, you can do this. So I felt like I wasn't on an island. And so I was building this co-op. And I said, I know it sounds crazy, girls, but I just feel like I'm drawn. I got to do this. Like, the Lord is telling me to do this. And so I did. And I can remember going to the South Euclid Library, which is tremendous. I'll just say right now, like, shout out to South Euclid. OMG.
My daughter loves that library. Like,
Yes.
it's such a, and if you're a kid, it's such a creative
Yes,
space for you
yes,
to go to.
it
Like,
is.
every library models something after
I
it, because
have
you
to
can
say,
go everywhere in that library.
yes, and Cuyahoga County Public Libraries in general, CleveNet, all of them, they try
They
really
are
to
trying
support,
really hard.
and especially the homeschool community. And so my homeschool co-op actually came. They trusted me. They came beside me. I didn't know what I was doing. Of course, I had these grandiose events, but ideas and events planned. But one thing that I didn't do was ever step on those moms' toes and put on my teacher hat, because who your child is as your child is not the same as a student,
Mm-hmm.
and who you are as a mom is not necessarily who you are as a teacher. And just because you're a teacher doesn't mean that you're any better of a
Than any
teacher for
other.
your child.
I'm
you know.
so glad you said. Well, since you already brought it up,
Yes.
we could get into it, because I think a big thing that we're missing is we talk about mom shaming, and a couple times on my blog. If you guys haven't been over, go to justonemom.com.
Yes, please.
Check out the blog. But about mom shaming and how we shame each other, and so I was wondering, like, did you encounter that by a person who was working and still sending their child to school? Like, what I was hearing when I investigated was like, your kids won't be socially ready to interact with other people. That, you know, you're not really doing anything with them at home. You know, they're not really learning. They're not going to be able to be on the level as the other kids. And the other was about the standardized testing. Like, they wouldn't be able to pass any of the standardized tests that our children have to take if they remain in school. And so by you saying that, like, I'm a teacher, but I'm just a mom, and I'm going to stay in my mom role, and I'm still going to educate my children, that's very refreshing. But how did you encounter any mom shaming when it came to homeschooling the kids?
So oftentimes, and this is something else that I do. I mean, there's a few things I do. First of all, I have Foundations Educational Consulting, which is my LLC, and that's the umbrella for my co-op. That's the umbrella for all that I do educationally. And then I created Dear Homeschool Mom, so dearhomeschoolmom.com. And so when I venture into that, it was because of mom shaming. It was because of mom shaming. It was because moms actually felt as though they were in a place where they had to apologize all the time for who they were. They couldn't live authentically.
Or because I made this decision.
Because I made this decision. My family's not supporting me. Even sometimes maybe their husband didn't even agree with it. You know, I have moms who are homeschooling who are single mothers. So I came across all of it. So I said, you know what? Let me start doing these things called Homeschool 101 series at local libraries for free. I'm going to just put it out there because nobody had it out there for us when we were doing it. But let me go ahead and start this. So what I started doing was debunking the myths. So I'm going to just start off with some of those myths. Let's start debunking some myths.
Tell us.
And I always tell them, you know, as a disclaimer, I'm not an attorney. If you want any kind of legal advice when it comes to homeschooling, then you would definitely want to look at the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. So I would have that too.
It tells you that this is a major thing in education because they've come up with a whole separate educational system for it.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so what's myth number one?
So myth number one is that parents are not good teachers.
Somebody said that?
Oh, yes. I've had moms even come to me and say, you know what, I really want to do this, but I'm so ashamed to say, but I'm just not a teacher. And so I would say that you have to shift your mindset.
I think parents are your first teachers.
Yes,
you learn everything from them. Like, how do you learn to walk or eat or even interact with people? They're your first interaction.
Amen. And so if you can get out of that mode of that you even have to, I think about what a teacher looks like in a classroom setting, because a classroom is not what you're bringing into your home. That is not what it is. You don't have to have a desk. You don't have to have posters and right, exactly. It does not have to be like that. Your homeschool and everyone else's homeschool is going to look and be totally different from someone else's, period. So that's the first thing.
But just like your parenting style, like I am a big advocate, like everybody's parenting style is different. Your children, I think we had this conversation, your children were designed specifically for you. Like, I know my crew
Yes.
is designed specifically for me. So my parenting style is going to look different. So you, as a homeschool mom, will look different in the eyes of other moms.
Definitely, yes.
Okay, so we're getting rid of that. So look, if you decide to homeschool,
Yes.
you can do it.
You can do it. You can do this. You can homeschool no matter what if you want to. And this is my motto. If God calls you to do it, he's going to equip you to do it. So definitely that for sure. Homeschool students in general score above average on achievement tests, regardless of their parents' level of formal education or their family's household income. And that's taken from the National Home Educator Research Institute. A teacher certification is not guarantee a quality teacher, and that's true inside and outside of the classroom. And you are their parent.
following you this last week. You guys did a lot.
We do a lot. And it's not that we're breaking the bank either. Like, we really are frugal, and people that really celebrate, understand, and respect homeschooling, they will let families come for like $5 free. No one's trying to.
Well, I do want to say
really
this, because if you guys, if you decide to leave your kid in school, that's fine. We're just giving you an alternative to learning.
Yes.
But follow your homeschool mom, because they know about all the free events. I'm telling you, I follow a couple of them. And I find all the free events. I'm like, you going to be
We
here
know,
this week?
and I'm still learning. Yes.
So, yes. And there are a lot of, I think it's Northeast Ohio parents. It's the letter that they post all the free events for your kids online, and it's always a learning experience, and they have a good time, and everything gets paid for. And I'm like, I need to do this more often. Like, you might have to take off in the middle of the day, but hey, it's a teachable learning experience, so I wouldn't mind doing it. But follow your homeschool mom, because they know about free stuff.
Oh, yes, they do. Oh, yes, they do, for sure. And then another myth is, how do you know if your child is learning? They're not going to learn anything. Someone has said to me, when I think of homeschooling, it's your kids sitting in front of the computer all day long. Well, that could or could not be true. I think it just depends upon what your child is doing. Now, if they're doing research or if they're part of an online school, I don't even think that you would even sit in front of there all day long, because actually, and part of what I've done too in being a homeschool mom is I've actually tried these online programs, and I've also done traditional homeschooling, and I've tried the different philosophies, and that's just within a 2.5 year time frame, and my children are learning tremendously. I've also tapped into standardized testing. I've taken them back to their school district to test, because I'm data driven. That's
are they
just how I am.
required to test though, like everybody else, or
they're not required? But let me just differentiate too between an online school, like K-12 is one that we went through.
Okay.
A Connections Academy, that is a public school, and that school is actually having students that they're getting money for. It's a public school. And so they still have to do the standardized testing. They have to take attendance. They have to be a part of a curriculum that's selected by them. So that freedom is not there necessarily, but a lot of those schools actually will embrace, help other children that are non-traditional homeschoolers but want to have that structure in their lives to still take their lessons and things. You aren't like stuck in front of the computer all day long. I think people hear things and they see things, and it's different strokes for different folks, because what one family does, another family doesn't do, and vice versa. So we have to be sensitive to that. So in debunking the myths, I would say that recognize, first of all, whether your online school is a public school, private school, a support service, or something else. Online public schooling is not supported under homeschool laws.
I didn't know that. That's good to know.
And if you want your child on a computer all day long, well, why or why not? And do you plan to teach all day long in some form or fashion? And I think, too, that that's something that's so important, is that the way that you're teaching, you may not even see it as teaching, but they're learning.
They're learning.
They're always learning. They're little sponges.
See, I know in the back of my mind when I think about it, I'm like, okay, I got to put on the teacher outfit. My glasses are a big part of it.
Yes.
And, I have to stand in front of them. But I think that this gives you an opportunity to kind of revamp. And I don't even think teachers teach like that anymore. Like, they're more like a little relaxed stuff, and they're trying to get the kids to understand what's going on and to get concepts sooner. So, hot people, as always, we're going to take a short break, but we'll be right back. If you guys have questions or concerns or comments, give us a call at 440-252-0518, and we'll be happy to answer them for you. So, stay tuned.
You're listening to Elevations Radio, your station for uplifting lifestyle and wellness talk radio.
I like this song too, beautiful girl. Hey, hi peeps, welcome back. That was Gwendolyn Collins, and in case you didn't hear it, I like that song, Beautiful Girl. So over the break, Sarah and I were just talking about, debunking the myths and everything, and mom shaming and stuff. And so, I think we kind of agree, like in your home, it's your responsibility to make sure that, you are setting the example in your home. Like, I'm not going to go into Sarah's home and say, you know what I'm saying? Like, we need to, if there's something really going on, I think that we should respect each other enough as parents to be like, can I talk to you about this and this happened? Yes. But we don't do that. And we leave a lot of stuff and we hide it. And so, I think we need to be called to the carpet on some stuff. We were talking about the standardized testing part because I really thought I was like, Dad, how they going to go in there and take the test? Because I know my daughter, not a good test taker, but my son, no problem. And so in raising the both of them, my daughter has to study. My son, he's like me. He can pick up a book, read it, have it, and it's like a fact, and he can recall it from years later. Like, and even my youngest daughter, like, she remembered from when she was like a baby. I want to say like maybe 9 months. She remembered something we did at my friend's house and recalled it like last week. And so I was like, how do you remember that? But it's just how everybody's mind functions and works. Yes. And so I wanted to get your opinion about the current state of schools, because like going on these websites and looking at, like, we're not doing all that great in the state of Ohio. And it's a scary thought because, we're going to have to get our kids to the next level. And the next level, according to the educational system, is like, grade school, elementary school, junior high, high school, and then college. And a lot of our kids are not prepared to go to college. So what's your opinion on the state of our educational system?
So already being a part of the educational system for so long, I have been through a number of different ways that we are required to teach, where we get information from in order to teach. A lot of people don't even know where teachers even get the information to teach, and where do you think our lesson plans come from?
I've asked people to see their degrees before.
Yeah, and
because I want to know what school you want to.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's your right as a parent. Right now, I think, just in all fairness to what's going on across the nation, but particularly in the state of Ohio, because a lot of our stuff, as far as information is concerned, comes from, obviously, the state, the capital, Columbus. We don't necessarily even know district to district what is going on as far as these report card grades are concerned.
So they're not talking to each other?
I don't think it's necessarily as talking. There are formulas that are created that sometimes the left hand doesn't necessarily know what the right hand is doing, and it's no fault of the administrators, the teachers, the schools. It's not their fault. Oftentimes what's ended up happening is there's something called the trickle-down effect. And so we teach what we know that we should teach based upon Common Core standards. The only thing that's common in Common Core is the material that is to be taught, and that's that particular standard. As far as the state of education is concerned, I know that there are some schools that are not performing well, that haven't performed well historically, and then there are others in school districts as a whole that have done well and continue to do well. So I think oftentimes what ends up happening, and people get confused, and parents in particular, and even teachers, in all of the testing, and there's this confusion that goes on with, okay, well, in the classroom they have to take this test, the tests that come from a spelling test, your basic test, and then you have these standardized tests that are coming, and then our children, with this third grade guarantee, and they have all these initiatives and things going on. There's just so much information out here to digest that it's people want to point the finger, because at the end of the day, it's who can we blame. But really, if you go back and look at the state and where those laws and rules and regulations and those standards and things like that are coming from, the teachers have been doing their part all along. There are good teachers. There are teachers that maybe are not good teachers. And the same with principals as well. I think that the human component here is what a lot of people, teachers, parents miss out on, is that we're all fully human. And we do the very best that we can day in and day out. And we have so many lives that we're responsible for. Teaching is a ministry. And so you have to be responsible for them. Now, preparing them and just to teach to a test is problematic. And so
that's why I was like, for me, standardized testing doesn't give me a full account of what my child can accomplish.
Yeah.
It's used so that you can meet your mark. And I think it's sad that some teachers were indicating that their salary or whatever their compensation will be is going to be based off of that test. So, and that's why they're choosing that teacher format. It's really sad for me that we don't respect our teachers enough to say, hey, how can I assist you? But I also want to put it back on the parents. I'm probably going to get for this, but it's up to us, one, to learn about our teachers and to be a support to them. But I often encounter, like sometimes when I go to the school, parents are getting mad at the teacher automatically off the bat because she's trying to do her job. We expect you to be a teacher, a guidance counselor, a social worker, the mom sometimes. I mean, I've been in instances, because I'm cool with most of my kids' teachers. I know you were cool. But, you know what I'm saying, you're like a nurse for the kids. You're doing all of these things, and then you're expected to go in the classroom and teach. And that could be all those things for one kid.
Right.
And so I think that we as parents, and I'm going to challenge parents this week to actually go into your kid's school and check on the teacher and see what's going on in the classroom, because we need to visually see how we can assist. Like, even if you decide not to homeschool, take the initiative to take the time off, a little time off a month, and to see what's going on in that classroom and how you can assist, because it takes a village to really educate these children.
Yes.
And so, like, I'm not a big fan of standardized testing. I hate when the little sheets come out. I understand it's a part of what they need to do, but I honestly wish there was another way to measure how a kid is doing at school, because I don't think you're giving them all the same tests, but they're all learning differently. And so I don't think we're capturing what we really want to capture.
Right. And that's why homeschooling is unique in that we don't have to do that. I'm an assessor, for instance. So I'm able to meet with homeschool families, and I'm able to look at their portfolio, and I'm also able to proctor. So if they decide that they actually want for me to administer, let's say, an Iowa test, I'm able to do that for them because I'm a licensed teacher in the state of Ohio. Okay. However, I've had families who've come to me that want for me to look through their portfolio, which covers all the content area that they have performed, learned, taught with their children for the duration of a school year. And I sit with those families for up to 2 hours, and I speak with every single child. I go through all of their paperwork, their portfolio, to really get a clear snapshot of what was going on, and to say, yes, I see that they've mastered this based upon the information that you've given. Me, myself personally, at my house, I tell my children that if you don't achieve 80% or better on X, Y, and Z, you have not fully mastered a concept, and you may not go on, because I don't know when they're going to go back to school. I'm not that mom who's like, they're going to be homeschooled forever. That is not me. I take it a day at a time.
Have that, in the back of your mind, like they have to achieve a certain amount. I want to remind you guys that if you have questions, please call in to 1-440-252-0518. And so, like with you saying all of that, like, at some point you may choose to put the kids back in school. I wanted to know if you could give us tips, us parents who, because I right now I don't know if homeschooling is an option for me, but I thought I would investigate it to at least see all of my options. What tips would you give for a parent who's decided to leave their kids in school and they're looking to pick out the best school for their kids? Can you give us some tips? Yeah,
so the first thing I would say is to really know your child and know what your child is passionate about. Oftentimes we ask children, what do you want to be when you grow up? What we don't realize is sometimes they already are what they're going to be.
I'm sorry. Hold on for a second. Yes, we have a call coming in. Hi, listener. You're tuned into Just One Hot Mom. How can I help you?
I had a question.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
How can you connect with other parents who may be in homeschooling in your area? Like, what options?
So I found out about a lot of the homeschool groups through Facebook. So Facebook groups have a plethora of different homeschool options available as far as groups are concerned. Different organizations, and I have some of them listed actually on my page, dearhomeschoolmom.com. But if you look at Facebook, and if you just type in homeschool, a number of different organizations, groups, support groups, events would come up for you, and that was how I was able to find them. And then also co-ops. was another way. Also, when you go to the library in the middle of the day and you see a mom with children, 9 times out of 10,
it's a homeschooling
It's
mama.
a homeschooling mama.
Or it's just me.
Right. But yes.
Okay, good.
Right.
Okay, I just wanted to know those options. And are there like different ones that focus on particular needs or things that you want to focus on?
As far as groups are concerned, so some groups are like field
Yeah,
trips.
like
I got a question.
Hold on for just a second, sir. I'm sorry. Go ahead,
ready? Can I
ma'am.
ask my
Finish it.
question?
Hold on, sir. Can you hold on for just a second? I'm going to let the young lady finish up her question real quick. Go ahead.
So, as far as the different groups that are specific, there's geography club for some groups, STEAM, mathematics, whatever it is that you're looking for. But you could find one group. I know one in particular is called NEST, N-E-S-T, NEST Homeschoolers, and that group has a plethora of information for you that you could look at and just see like what some of their events are that are specific and would meet the needs of your child and your family.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're
Thank you for
welcome.
calling in. I'm sorry, sir. Go ahead with your question.
Yeah, the question that I had was, do you find more parents going to homeschooling as not just alternative learning, but as a way of kind of deviating from the conventional school setting? I mean, considering the culture in high school these days, just your opinion, and I'll hang up and listen.
When I first started, I knew that homeschooling families were out there. It just seemed like it wasn't as popular, but within the past 3 years, there has definitely been an influx of homeschooling families that have really, for lack of a better term, just like kind of come out, you know, and so I was able to connect with them and learn a lot from them. And I think that this is starting to become the norm. I'm thinking that we're not just looking at homeschoolers as strange kids who come from a family of like 25 kids who, you know,
don't have a choice.
Right. You know, I think that this is becoming a viable option, and especially too when we talk about, and this term, I mean,
As he goes to high school, what's 2 more tips you can give us?
So besides knowing what your child's passions are and knowing what they're good at and what they like, the other thing would be to actually see if you can set up a time to go and shadow in that school. If you could shadow, if you could visit in the school, that would be absolutely amazing. I've had my kids to go, my oldest daughter, who was not homeschooled, she actually was able to go and she would shadow schools just to see what she liked. So we visited private schools, public schools, charter schools, just to see, to get a feel. And then the next tip is just to be prepared to be involved. Because no matter what school you decide, I mean, you can have the best teachers, the best child. You still need to be totally involved and immersed as much as you possibly can be.
I'm so glad you said that, because I think sometimes we think we drop them off at school and that's the end of what we're supposed to do. We pick them up and we're parenting them at home, but we miss the mark when it's like we have to be involved in the school too. You need to know what's going on in the school, because you never know. This may not be the school for your child, and the only way you're going to find that out is if you visit the school and you interact within the school.
Yes.
So I need for you to give us your information. I need for you to drop all your little knowledge for us, because they need to know. I need for people to go onto your website and visit and find out what you have going on.
So the name of my website is dearhomeschoolmom.com. It's all one word, and it's spelled just the way it sounds. And it's a work in progress. I'm constantly adding things and tweaking, but you can definitely go on there and get the gist of what I'm offering. You can secure services through Foundations Educational Consulting on there as well. So you would see a tab on there. And if you need any type of general education, homeschooling consultation, I'm able to provide that as well. If you're interested in a co-op, Cleveland Lead Homeschool Co-op, all one word, is on Facebook. You're able to look us up. We're a private group, secret group. We don't let just anybody in there because I guard my families, and we are a family now, and so we're very particular, and there's a process to be a part of the co-op. I just don't let anybody in. It's not a clique, but I just value those families very, very much.
I think that's important, that people realize that you value what they're trying to do.
I really, really do.
So I'm glad about that.
Yep.
So that's all your information?
That is my information for now. I have resources and links on there that are specific to my time spent here with you today. That there's a resources tab on there, so they could click on that. And I have links and sites and books.
She has a great website. She's not giving herself
whatever they.
if I was able to navigate and find all the stuff that I needed to find, other people could log in and find it too. But I want to touch on another thing that we've talked about, and we're going to begin to wrap up the show, is that the community, us as a community of moms. I'm a big fan of my village. Like, anybody will tell you that I talk about my village a lot on a regular basis, because I think it's important that you position your children to be around people who you want them to be like.
Yes.
And so how can we as a community come together and support our educational system, whether it be homeschooling mamas, whether it be working moms who have to send their kids to school? What can we as a community do to help support our children's education?
I think just having a universal belief and practice of helping our children and ourselves just to think big, boldly, ingenuitively, and globally. And I think that if we're able to do that and be able to really embrace each other, celebrate each other, think critically outside the box, and live in authenticity and not shame anybody, and just be able to just be together and support each other and have each other's backs, no matter what circle you're in, I just think that is so important. So whether you choose to homeschool, whether you choose to not homeschool, the choice is yours. But whatever it is that you decide to do, embrace it, celebrate it, be proud of it, and then embrace somebody else. Like, always pay it forward. That's huge.
And that's the big thing, I think, that I want the parents, not just the moms, but I want parents to understand that it's our responsibility to teach another mom what we learn in our community. Like, I was so happy, like, you reached out to me, and I was like, I always want to know about homeschooling. I was like, and I have all of these questions that you can answer for me now. And so I think it's important that when you have the knowledge, that you pass it on. Like, it's not meant for you to keep it as a secret. It's meant for you to actually pass it along and to give it to others. So I'm so excited that you were able to join me on the show today. You guys, if you are thinking about homeschooling, please reach out to Sara. I think, like, she has an amazing list of information for you guys to get. And I just wanted to leave you guys with a thought.
Reiterate the info.
Oh, okay. Which info, ma'am? Oh, contact Sara Williams at dearhomeschoolmom.com.
Yes, you can.
And so that you can reach out to her so that she can help you guys determine, one, if you want to become a homeschooling mama, or two, if you're a working mom but you're looking for other ways to help your children succeed in school. She also has the Foundations of Educational Consulting, LLC, which you can consult them. And help them.
I tutor. I can help with assessments. I'm able to, the data sheets you get at the open house or at the school conference, I'm able to go through data with you and just help you. I think, and that's what's unique, is that I'm not going to judge you. It's like I just want to help you and your family. That's all I want to do, and help your children be the best that they can be.
And see, there are people out here in your community who just want to help you grow. And so, guys, all of this information will be available on justonehotmom.com. So go on over there, and if you want to hear past shows or even replay this show will be available again on elevationsradio.com, but it'll also be posted on justonehotmom.com. I wanted to thank you again, Sarah, for coming in today. And I want to leave you guys with this. I want to really challenge each and every parent out there to actually figure out how your kids are being educated and how you can become an advocate for your child's education. It sincerely takes a village to honestly raise our children, to get them the education that they need and that they deserve. And another thing is to stop mom shaming people. I just told Sarah, I know I've been guilty of it plenty of times, but it's important that we uplift each other as moms, as dads, as parents, and that we recognize that our village, which you need people to support you. They're there to support you. And if your village isn't currently supporting you, then you need to reevaluate your village.
True that.
So, Robin, you ready to take us out of our first show? I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Vanessa, Natural Joy, Sarah was tuned in, Tanya, Rick, Aisha, Christine, Jason. I know my dad is probably listening somewhere. I want to thank Chef for tuning in. I want to thank Robin for working the board. And I want to thank all my hot peeps. I promise you're going to continue to get all this fire, all this flavor, all this heat, and that sauce from around your neighborhood and in your world. So stay tuned.
Watch out for that thump. That what? Sick and tired of being sick and tired. This is probably what you think. Sick and tired of being sick and tired. This is probably what you think. When you be sick and tired of being sick and tired. This is probably what you think.
This pain I feel in my chest, 'cause of stupid me. I must confess, I ruined everything. Hopes in my dreams, future and things I never thought I end up like this. I open my mouth, what comes out is I'm sorry and I've lost